We are live. Welcome to the show. We had no countdown clock on the YouTube stream today because weird things were kind of happening behind the scenes here, and things got thrown off. But here we are. We're ready to go.
Rocking and rolling, baby.
Along with Vince Dario, I'm Sean Steyers. Welcome to the show, whether you're watching live on either the Irish Breakdown YouTube channel, the Sports Radio WSBT YouTube channel, or listening live via the WSBT radio app or live on air, 960 AM, 106.1 FM, or maybe in your world, it's actually Thursday and you're listening to this podcast right now. Glad to have you with us today.
Yeah.
A plethora, just a straight up plethora of ways to watch and listen to this show. Be sure to subscribe to the all new Sports Radio WSBT YouTube channel, by the way. And if you go to youtube.com and you go to their search tool and you type in Sports Radio WSBT, you might see like some other mimic channels. There are some imitators in there for some reason. Yeah, but the authentic YouTube channel is the one that's populated with a lot of new videos, and you'll see some Irish Breakdown stuff in there, our background and all that kind of stuff. And you'll see me and Vince and Jesse and Trevor and whoever else, Eric Hansen, bebopping and scatting in the old That's right. Tommy is checking in today. It is Wednesday, and Wednesday has traditionally been midweek mailbag day on the Irish Breakdown IB Nation Sports Talk show. But we're not doing a mailbag show today because we have had plenty of opportunities to talk to different Fighting Irish assistant coaches. We had Chris Ash on Monday. We had Mike Denbrock yesterday. We're going to hear some Ja'Jun Seider, Irish running back coach, comments today. And I think there's a lot of good stuff in what we're going to hear. Tommy Guns, our old friend from the YouTube chat, might have his best questions that he's posted, thinking today was mailbag day. So we'll try to get to those if we can. But we're going to have some more assistance over the next couple of days. I think Al Washington, defensive line coach, will be up tomorrow, and then we'll have a little Joe Rudolph on Friday as well. A lot of good stuff and a lot of good insights. We've got a little bit of a short show tomorrow because we've got Indianapolis Colts pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock as they kick off their preseason schedule.
Much shorter show tomorrow. Holy smokies. Okay.
Yes. One thing I know, though, 25 days to go until the season opener at Miami. We are now officially a week into Notre Dame football training camp, and that's why we've had all these, different, comments and interviews and stuff like that with players and coaches and everyone else. We got to get out to the first 4 periods of practice this morning over at Notre Dame. They did the old switcheroo. They moved off the artificial turf fields.
That's right.
And went down to the end to the grass fields today. They do that every now and then. So they were down on the grass fields this morning. A few notes. Jaden Greathouse not practicing. He had his jersey and his pants on, no pads, wasn't wearing a helmet or anything. So no Jaden Greathouse. Didn't, just from what we could see, he was walking around fine and everything. They're not going to comment on injuries or, any of that kind of stuff. Sullivan Absher was dressed. We didn't see him do any offensive line drills while we were there. Running back Kedron Young, didn't see him at practice at all. Like sometimes you'll see, like with Greathouse, he wasn't practicing, but we saw him walking around. Didn't see Young anywhere around the running back, so not sure what's going on there. We just talked to Ja'Jun Seider, so it's not like we'll get, we would get an update there. Gabe Rubio didn't practice. Al Washington said that was minor, nothing to worry about when we talked to Al Washington after practice today. So those are kind of the quick, injury related notes. Again, it was 4 practices. Biggest thing, most eventful thing we got to see was the quarterbacks throwing to the receivers and running backs, tight ends deep in the red zone. They were throwing some fades and slants and crosses and stuff like that.
Was there a defense or was it just on air?
No defense, just air. Yeah, just running routes.
So they should have been very accurate is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
And for the most part, for the most part, they were. I would say, again, this is no coverage. So, what you're going to read into this, like, I would say CJ Carr a little bit sharper, had some good touch on a couple of his back corner fades and stuff like that. I was down there with the camera doing my best to shoot some video. I told Brian, look, I'm a radio guy, so whatever happens with this video, like, that's on you. So
hey, I'm interested to see what your video looks like, because I didn't get to go today. I didn't get to go today, so
I know.
All I get is the word of mouth and the video. That's all I get. So
well, as fate would have it, Vince, I've got a little bit of video ready for you to go, because the first controversy of training camp,
oh my gosh,
appears to be history. Putting the video up in the YouTube right now, the live YouTube stream. You can see the 5 guys in their red jerseys. Those are the quarterbacks. Who's in there? Who's in there skipping along with all the other quarterbacks, Vince?
Number 13.
Number 13, CJ Carr with his white tights is skipping around and going through warm-ups, going through stretching with the rest of the team after he was throwing instead of stretching the last time we saw him out there last week. CJ Carr, stretch gate has been solved. CJ Carr stretching with the rest of the quarterbacks in the team this morning. So there you go. Crisis averted.
Sean, you and I have been covering this team for over 20 years. Okay? It's officially over 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And I have never heard of a more ridiculous situation in my life. Like, the most made up controversy on the face of the planet occurred this year.
Mm-hmm.
The dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, is it a problem that he's not stretching with the team? Let me be real clear on this. If it was a problem with his coaches or with his teammates or anybody else, he wouldn't be doing it. His coaches would not allow him to do it.
He's not doing it now. What we don't know, because we did ask him, and we played the audio the other day, the question came up when we got to talk to CJ Carr. Did you have to ask permission? And he was like, well, kind of not. He was basically begging forgiveness rather than asking permission.
Okay.
It felt like. And again, like we talked about this in Rapid Fire the other day. Big deal, little deal, no deal. Little deal to me only in that, again, it's like it's not a big deal by any means to me. The only thing that Jesse and I said was there's a reason that the rest of the team stretches, right? There's a reason that they put them through these warm-ups, so that's the only little thing. Like, if everyone else is out there but the quarterback is not, again, not a major issue. But
here's the other thing. You know who else wasn't warming up with the team the other day when I was there?
Tell me who.
The entire specialist group. They were all outside and they were warming up on their own.
Come on, Vince.
Well, I'm just saying. So why isn't that a huge problem that they're part of the team? Are they too good to stretch with the team, Sean? Are they too good for it? Like,
are you really going to compare the long snapper to the 5-star recruit, potential starting quarterback? Is that what
I will when it comes to warming up? Because as a quarterback, what is he doing that he needs? What is he doing that he needs to warm up the same way that a defensive end or a running back needs to warm up?
So why does anyone else on the team need to go through stretching if he doesn't need to?
Because they're using different parts of their body.
I disagree.
Okay, that's fine.
They're all part of a team. Would you let guys skip out of stretching? Like I said, there's a reason.
If my starting pitcher needs to throw in the bullpen, yeah, I'm going to let him get out of team stretch. And what is a quarterback? He throws the football.
We would do a team stretch, and then the pitcher would go warm up in the bullpen. Because, again, there's a reason you do those stretches, right? If there's not a reason you're doing the stretches, why is anyone doing the stretches?
Yeah, overall, there's a reason. But he got his stretching in. He very clearly said he got his stretching in, then he went and threw. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me.
Again, it's a little deal, but I'm just saying, Mike saying the same thing. No special treatment. That's all I'm saying. And as far as we know, it was a one-time deal. Again, he was back out there stretching today. So stretch gate conclude.
Yeah, a couple different practices, which it's whatever, man. Look, Are we going to, like, if he throws an interception in the first game, are we going to, like, say it's because he was throwing early?
Someone will. He should have been out there with the team.
And they should be fired. If they are garnering money for covering the team, they should be fired if they say that. It is ridiculous.
Well, I'm not saying someone covering the team. I'm just saying someone will say that.
There's about 135 other FBS teams that they can follow that the quarterback probably warms up with the team. So
right. Vince coming in hot. Vince coming in surly today.
So stupid.
I don't know. And it's like, this is the dean of discipline is getting ready for school to start back up. He's in November form right now. All right, here we go. I don't want to hear from you. I want you in that corner right now.
That's right.
Where I want you.
Nose on the circle.
That's right. All right, let's talk a little running backs. Again, we've got some comments from running back coach Ja'Jun Seider, the first-year running back coach. He had a lot of great insights to share on his backs. I think one of the more interesting comments that he had was, speaking of the quarterbacks, how his veteran running backs can help whichever first-time starter ends up being the quarterback this season.
And I'm glad you asked that question, because that goes with the football IQ, right? Starting to understand, okay, shells, right? We 2x2. The nickel to the field is playing inside number 2. Safety's wide. Right now, we should know there's a chance of edge pressure. Hey, the quarterback now, see, it's a good time to say, hey, Q, be alert, pressure over here. Like those things that when you can take stuff off a quarterback plate, especially a young guy who haven't been experienced starter, like now we can grow as a team and we can trust, because I've been in places where the running back had to tell a young kid, right? And I always try to coach those things, because we got to know same way they got to know. I'm teaching the same shell he looking at. If he's seeing rotation, triangle rotation, well, we know something coming to the field if everything's spinning that way, vice versa. So that's the part that we're growing. We're not there yet, but we're working hard at it, and I think we're getting better as these camp days go.
A lot of great detail there, I thought, from Ja'Jun Seider, Vince.
Yeah, big time. I think he's absolutely right. I mean, every aspect of the team, running backs included, because that's what we're talking about, can help a first-year starting quarterback. You know, whether it's helping with protections, whether it's running the ball really, really well to take some pressure off of the quarterback, all of those different things. I think he hit the nail on the head. That's a mantle that guys like Jeremiyah Love and Jadarian Price should wear, proudly, that they can help this kid out. Whoever it had, whether it's Minchie or whether it's Carr, they can help in more ways than one. And that's called leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. And and I think that you'll hear it in at least one of these clips. One of these clips here coming up, where Seider talks about he's teaching these there's a lot more film study that they're doing in terms of looking at the fronts. And, like he was talking about with the moving triangle and stuff like that, like where the linebackers are set, all these different things and things that, again, with a first-time starter back there, the center is kind of the one who you typically think of, the one who's going to make that read first, like if you're blocking to the mic or wherever, like the blocking is supposed to go to, but he's the center. He's down at the line of scrimmage. It's not like the quarterback, especially if he's in shotgun, can get out and bend down and, talk in Ashton Craig's ear and, and ask him a question. But the running back, one of them is going to be back there with him. And these guys are both in year 3 now. So they've been around the block a little bit. So I think it can actually be a really great asset, again, for whoever that starting quarterback is, just to help them out with some little things like that are ultimately going to be pretty important.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
So when Seider was hired at Notre Dame, one of the first things he did was have each running back write down what their weaknesses were and then give that list to him so he could see it, so they could work on it. So what was Jeremiyah Love's response? Here's Ja'Jun Seider.
It's kind of what I alluded to all of them, is he wanted to know fronts, really coverage for him, because he was playing, tinkering with playing some receiver and running back. But he also understand what coverage also helps him learn in the backfield, how it's going to help him in the run game. And I think that's the biggest thing he wanted to go. He said, because now he feel more free, we can understand where the gap's at. Like who are we affecting on a mid zone or an outside zone, right? It ain't just the guys up front. Can I make linebackers move out of their gap? So if we got an over front, that might got to be in the A gap, but he's not there. What's open? Mm-hmm. And I think to my playing from the neck up, that's the biggest thing for Jay Love. Like, he's just wanting to understand more football. He understands how to run with the ball and where the ball got to go, but why it's got to go there. And I think those are the weaknesses that we talked about that we really want to work on. And for him, he wanted to learn how to watch better film. You know, where to put my eyes, who do I attack, you know, because, like, we all got our one-on-ones we got to win. Like, it's for running backs, it's always the linebackers. Study film on linebackers, see how they playing. You know, they're a lateral downhill team. Like, you know what I mean? Do they have tails? And then for him, what the coverage behind the shells look like. You know, was open and closed. And I think you can be remedial in football and say, hey, what's open is, right? It's 2 high safeties. It's closed, 1 eye. If you know that, now they playing man and playing zone. So just teach them base stuff where you can carry with them down the road.
All right, so that's the response to what was Jeremiyah Love's weakness, and you heard it. How much do you think that can ultimately help Jay Love's game?
Oh, it's huge, because when not only will it help his actual game when he's playing, because he can find certain weaknesses in the defense and know certain things, especially if he's out running routes and things of that nature, being able to settle down in his zone, being able to out leverage somebody playing man, you know, all of those different things. But if he's able to explain all of those things, that's going to help him out in the NFL draft process and all of those meetings that he's going to have with coaches and GMs and all of that stuff. If he can explain what he sees from the running back position, just the way that Ja'Jun Seider just did, that's massive for him. That's massive, because it shows that he understands the game on a different level, as opposed to just taking the football and running with it.
Well, and look, one of the things that when we Todd McShay did the podcast, he's been doing like the draft sort of like in advance of the season, some of the top draft eligible guys, and he did the breakdowns on his podcast. And one of the things McShay talked about that Jeremiyah Love needs to do is be just more, be more involved in the passing game. It feels like they're going to do that. You heard Ja'Jun Seider touch on that in that clip there. And also be better in pass protection. Not that he was bad in pass protection. Maybe average to a little bit above average is probably kind of where they put the grade for Jeremiyah Love. But here, all that stuff that he's talking about there with, like the protection, between the protections and reading the fronts and all those different things. I think that's really going to elevate Jeremiyah Love as an all-around back. And, this is a true all-around back. We've seen him, like we saw him out there today catching passes, like in that goal line stuff that I was talking about that the quarterbacks were throwing. So we've seen him at practice already this fall being a receiver more often. I think that's going to be a part of his game. And again, that pass protection stuff and going back to what we were just talking about with a first-time starting quarterback out there, I think that is going to be really important, that whether it's him, Jadarian Price, whoever it happens to be, that pass protection stuff is going to be really valuable for him and the team.
No, and there's a reason look, I'm not saying he couldn't pick up blitzes and things like that in the past, but he wasn't on the field during third down. And one of the primary responsibilities of being on the field during third down is picking up blitzes and picking up pass protection and that kind of stuff. And so I'm not saying he couldn't do it, but I will say fairly confidently that Aneyas Williams could do it better. That's why he was on the field during third down. The proof's in the pudding, right? So that is something that he wants to get better at, and so that he can be on the field on those money downs. And I think that's important.
But the thing is, like, as great a running back coach as we all felt like Dylan McCullough was, whatever. He's obviously with the Raiders now, that, as he was at Notre Dame. It sounds like some of this stuff, like the deeper, some of this film stuff, like that Ja'Jun Seider is doing with these guys is something relatively new. That's a little bit odd to me, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's odd to me that they wouldn't have kind of gone over this stuff. Maybe they just kind of went over it on a cursory level. You know what I mean? And it wasn't as deep as Coach Seider wants to go. I mean, that's a possibility too. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but yeah, that is a little, it's not concerning, surprising. Would say is the better word.
But look, I think it also, and there are different reasons, but the two backs that he had at Penn State, the fact that they were both over 1,000 yards last year, and you hear this level of preparation that he's talking about. Like, to me, it just as great as we already think, especially this 1-2 tandem of Love and Price are, and that, Aneyas Williams is obviously very good as well, and Kedron Young is very good as well. And we'll hear some thoughts on them coming up in a little bit as well. But like, the level of preparation that he was obviously doing with those guys at Penn State, I think that obviously played a big part, not just their ability, but that played a big role in their ability to both be over 1,000 yards last year.
Yep. You want to talk about the proof being in the pudding? I mean, there it is right there. So yeah,
exactly. So Jeremiyah Love getting some love for Heisman, a little bit of Heisman hype. It's not huge right now, but obviously all summer long, we've heard his name mentioned when it comes to Heisman. I think in terms of the running backs, he is probably the leading candidate to be in the Heisman mix this season. And Seider talked a little bit about managing that Heisman hype for Jeremiyah Love.
I think it's been all in-house. I think Free done a great job of having meetings with him, Denrock, and of course myself is like, hey man, team success comes individual success. If we can have great success as a team, and if you play to the standard that you can play, it'll take care of itself, because we're going to go as far as he played at his level to get us to where we want to go. So I know he said one thing, got in the media about it, but we really don't talk about it. It's about daily improvement, and the challenge of, okay, I got a new coach. It's not the same coach last year. How much can I take what I learned and now apply this new stuff that I'm learning to help my game grow, right? He understands what's out there, but it's something like, I don't talk about it. And we don't talk about it in the meeting room. We just talk about how can we get better every day.
I don't know about you, Vince, but like when you watch Jeremiyah Love, the way he carries himself, whether it's on the field, the practice field, in the media room, wherever it happens to be, and I obviously mean this in the best possible way, he is not a guy who you're like, that guy thinks he's going to win the Heisman. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the way he carries himself, do you think?
That's not who he is from all accounts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's just out there working hard, and he's the first one in drills, and he's doing the drills at 100%. Everything I've ever seen of him from a practice standpoint this season, right? Of course, in the past as well, but this season, when we're talking Heisman and we're talking all of these accolades and the watch lists and all of those different things, he hasn't changed at all. And I think that's important. And I think what Coach Seider said is also very important. You can't think big picture in August. You just got to put your head down, do the work.
Yep.
With team glory comes individual glory. How true is that, though? I mean, very rare does the Heisman Trophy winner come from a crappy team. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
It's usually the best player on the best team. Granted, usually a quarterback, but it's the best player on the best team, and that he needs his teammates just as much as he needs himself to make that happen. So he's just eyes front, blinders on, get to work, let's roll. And I haven't seen anything to make me think otherwise.
All right, I'm going to go stretch during this break.
Woo!
Get myself ready to go. When we return, we've got more comments from Ja'Jun Seider. He'll talk a little Jadarian Price. He'll talk some Aneyas Williams. He'll talk some Kedron Young. Try to answer some of these questions that stacked up in our live YouTube chat as well. You can watch us live on YouTube. Of course, you can listen on Sports Radio WSBT. It's Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues on this Wednesday. Talking a little Notre Dame football today. Got some more comments from Fighting Irish running backs coach Ja'Jun Seider coming up, along with Vince D'Addario. I'm Sean Stiers. If you're watching live in the YouTube, or if you're not, you can. Mark wants to know where Jesse is. He'll be here tomorrow, and he'll actually be in South Bend next week. I have no idea what the setup is going to be when he does his shows.
Have you guys done it together in the same house before?
We did it, I think, once in the same house, but obviously I'm here in the studio, so I don't know if he's coming to the studio with me or if he'll be back in my office and that kind of stuff.
That's a great call. I mean, you do have a ready-made office ready to go.
Yep.
Just
set up,
log in,
plug it in, and go. That's right,
man.
Joe asks, are they doing everything from shotgun, or have we seen quarterbacks under center? I mean, from what the things that we've seen, I haven't seen any under center stuff, but we've been there a very small percentage of the time.
Very small, we haven't seen the quarterbacks take snaps from an actual center except on the first day. And that was, no shoulder pads, no padding. So, I mean, other than that, they've been running drills. So yeah, that's going to be too much for us to know at this point.
Yep, exactly. All right, so a little bit more from Ja'Jun Seider. We heard him talk a little bit about Jeremiyah Love, both Love working on his weaknesses and some of the Heisman hype. One of the things Jadarian Price has worked on under Ja'Jun Seider is slowing the game down a little bit.
I think you teach the game. Like, now, if we just letting these kids play running back and all we do is talk about what they got to do with the ball, we're not growing. And I think being able to teach him fronts, being able to teach him what the O-line is blocking so he understands on certain plays, if I got a double team, who am I helping on that play? And then you understand if I'm working a double team, what the angle's going to be at so I can press. We're talking about, what's the right word? I'm tired of something. Slow to, fast through. Right, and that's the slow through the mesh and fast through the hole. He was fast, and you kind of see foot popping, and he's not letting the plays develop. So I think the growth mindset, understanding fronts, like how are we attacking fronts, whether over front, under front, even the back half, teaching these guys coverage and understand how things fit. And I think that's what JD is talking about. Like, he's starting to understand big picture of football and not just playing the position of running back. Because there's guys that does a great job of just coaching running back, right? And that's what we hired to do. But if you really a coach and you want your kids to grow and take the next step, so when they leave here and this Indy and we had to combine, they can pass this interview. You know what I mean? That's all part. We teachers, right? And we teaching these kids so when they got to take that test, they prepare for it.
Vince, can I just first of all, Jesse and I the other day we were playing some cuts from one of the other coaches, and it's like, does it all have to be coach speak? Can you just give us some level of detail? Can you give us some level of insight? And then listen to these, that cut from Ja'Jun Seider, and listen to the level of insight that he's giving you in terms of what he is teaching Jadarian Price and the rest of the running backs. That is what I'm talking about right there. It doesn't all have to be coach speak. That was just like go, off to the side and drag a Marlboro, or we're not supposed to talk about. You know what I'm saying?
I do. When I listened to the first couple of cuts when he was talking about the things that Jeremiyah Love is working on, and I it was like listening to a coach talk about football.
Yes,
it was refreshing. Okay, I was thinking to myself, oh man, I could listen to him all day talking about this stuff. It was legitimate. It was not a word salad. It was not coach speak. It was an actual coach talking ball. Sign me up. I'm here.
Yeah. And we touched on this a little bit yesterday with Jadarian Price. We played a cut in rapid fire from Jadarian Price kind of on this. He was talking about slow to, quick through, getting through the hole, what Ja'Jun Seider was just talking about there. And the difference between, it does not everything has to be all or nothing. Like, we know Jadarian Price can hit home runs. We know Jeremiyah Love can hit home runs. But what about specifically for Price? What about those other runs? it felt like so many times it was either a 50-yard run or a 1-yard run, and like if they can work on that and make those 1 to 2-yard runs turn into 4s and 5s, you're obviously moving the chain more methodically, you're moving the chain more efficiently, and all your third downs turn into shorter third downs. You face fewer third downs as a result as well. And you're just an all-around more consistent running back and helping your offense be more consistent in the process.
No doubt. And consistency is a big one. I mean, look, we all want the home runs, right? We're not gonna turn away the 60-yard runs, the 50-yard runs. Like, nah, go down after 7. Like, that would be great. We need more of those,
right.
But you want the ones to turn into more 7s and 8s and things of that nature. And you do want some more consistency. So it's not feast or famine. And I think that with an experienced offensive line, with another year under the belt of the running backs, all of those things will equal a more consistent run game that we didn't always see.
Yeah. And you're also increasing the chances that one of those runs or two, like that you're going to end up with more explosive runs by essentially starting off with a 3-yard gain and then you make a guy miss or you break a tackle. And Mark says, how about 98 against Indiana? That wasn't a bad one.
I mean, I'm not throwing that one back. Okay. No. I'm just saying a little bit more consistency would be good.
Yep. So Aneyas Williams is RB3 in this room. And here's where Ja'Jun Seider says he needs to see some improvement from Mr. Williams.
I think he's really sharp, right? He's really football smart. But there's areas of his game we need to improve, right? He's a little tight, so we've been working on flexibility so he can get his hips down so he can finish runs forward. He's one of the most natural kids. Like he's the easy button. Anything you need done, he can do it. But there's a way of doing it, right? We don't just want to be good. We want to be great at it to become elite at it. And so we're talking about pad level. And even protection, like he's there, but there's ways we need to finish lower pad level, lower hands, hairline below his chin. So taking his game and redefining it. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing. And not just for Aneyas, but the whole room. J Love needed, Jadarian needed, like they all need it. You know what I mean? Because like I tell the whole room, what you did last year doesn't matter. Like just because you were that guy last year don't mean you're going to be that guy this year. I mean, there's Kedron we just talked about, like there's Jabron, like they're all those kids and they're fighting tooth and nail for every opportunity to get on the field.
All right. So again, a lot of great stuff there when you hear Ja'Jun Seider talking about Aneyas Williams. Anything stand out to you?
Well, I think what stood out to me, and it's not, I guess, specific to him, but it's like, don't stand on your laurels. Like you were the third down guy last year. That's awesome. But that doesn't mean you're going to be the third down guy this year because there's stuff that you got to work on. And he started going into specifics about blocking on third down and picking up blitzes. And I've never heard hairline below the chin. Like I'm going to use that one, man. Like,
yeah,
that was really good and a visual that people can understand. So yeah, there was a lot of really good stuff in there. And
but again, look, you can talk about these players without giving away game plan secrets.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
that was the frustration the other day when we were talking about like so much great detail. Like he talked about, he's a little stiff, so they've been working on some flexibility, and so that'll be some because that is one. Because Williams did seem a little bit. I'm not saying heavy by any means, but very muscular and
sure.
Maybe a little stiff as a result. So maybe that's something that kind of helps unlock something, more for him this year as well.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. He's gotten bigger this year than he was last year. And so maybe that did affect his flexibility a little bit. So I like it. I like where things are. Wow.
Fred says I have swamp ash.
ASH.
Yes. Fred was here on Monday. He's well aware of what I'm talking about right now. I was trying not to, call him out again. Just a little throwback to the other day. What kind of role do you envision for Aneyas Williams this year? I'm still trying to picture it myself.
Me too, because I think that Jeremiyah Love is going to be involved more on third down than he was last year. And so what does that mean for Aneyas Williams' reps? I have to think that his reps are going to be a little bit more limited this year than they were last year, which maybe not him specifically, but it's why I'm a little bit surprised that he came back. Because I don't want to say the writing was on the wall because it wasn't on the wall. But he could have been a starting running back at a heck of a lot of Power 5 schools, Power 4 schools. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he came back to grind with this coach and with this team, and that says a lot about who he is as a person. But from just a football X's and O's, how often do you get to the third running back? You know what I mean? And it's been very clear that Jeremiyah Love's going to get more third down reps, John.
Absolutely. And the thing, what I'm wondering is, and if Jeremiyah Love obviously gets more third down reps, that means fewer reps for Aneyas Williams because that ultimately became his role last year. But again, you've got different position coach with a little bit different philosophy on running that. Now it's the 20 and 21 personnel. Could that be where Williams finds some opportunities when they decide to have two backs on the field because of the versatility and the flexibility of Love, for example? Could Aneyas Williams end up kind of more in that package as opposed to Price and Love, which we've seen some of in practice, but could Williams, could that be the role that he carves out that helps get him out on the field more often?
I think that's one of the many question marks is how is Ja'Jun Seider going to split up reps? What does that look like and who fills those roles? I think that is fascinating because there's so much talent in that room. Somebody's not going to be happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Mark says maybe Williams needs to stretch with CJ.
See, there you go. Perfect idea. I love it.
Maybe they just need to hire a Pilates coach and, go that route. Okay, so the other guy, speaking of deep room, Kedron Young. Well, here's some thoughts from Ja'Jun Seider on Mr. Young.
Running back, run through you, run around you. You get labeled as a big guy that he can't move, but he can move. And if you look how he's built, if you study running backs over time, low-cut guys playing that position, they would sink their hips better. They able to get out of, tight cuts. He has that ability. But he also have the ability to finish forward with that +2 mentality. So really working hard on, out the backfield stuff, protection for the whole room in general. So I think the kid got a bright future.
Bright future.
Kedron
Young. I mean, and it seems more about the future right now because you talk about another guy who could easily be out there, but fighting for some reps big time right now.
Absolutely. I mean, right now he's the fourth running back maybe, or there's Javon Payne in there too. So, I mean, there's 5 guys that have a legitimate case to be on the field. And like I said, somebody's not going to be happy, whatever that looks like, right? I mean, they may get them all on the field at some point in some way, but somebody is not going to be happy because of all the talent that is in that room. It's hard to sit back. If you're Kedron Young, just as an example, if you're Kedron Young and you sit back and you're like, I feel like I'm better than guy A,
name a guy
B,
or
whoever, it doesn't matter who it is, right? I feel like I'm better. I should be on the field more or whatever. And so do they channel that into working harder at practice? Do they channel that in just being disgruntled? I would venture to say they're going to channel that as being hardworking, right? And there's obviously reps in the future as well. They're not just competing for reps in 25. They're competing for reps in 26 and beyond. Yeah. But, man, he is going to be special.
Well, and that's the thing, because Mark in the YouTube chat makes a great point because really for both Williams and Young and obviously anybody else behind him, the likelihood is you've got two guys in their third year, both Love and Price, and one of them and both of them have had injuries to an extent. And we've talked about how the load split that they've got sets them up much better for the future. Take less pounding and the whole thing. They're both draft eligible next year. I would say that there is a very, very good chance that both of those guys are gone. Mm-hmm. So Williams, Young, Payne, whoever else, these guys are they're here right now. Most likely those guys are gone next year. And, that obviously leads to greater opportunities for both of those guys next season.
No, completely agree. It's just how patient are they going to be? You know what I mean? And what does that look like? Look, I would say 10 years ago, it wouldn't have surprised me that all these guys are around because you sit and you wait your turn, you work hard, and then you get your opportunity. This is 2025. You know what I mean? If true freshmen aren't getting their opportunity, they're out the door, and in regular college football. Now, this is Notre Dame. There's a different culture here, and I understand that, and we don't need to go down that road, but I was still a little surprised that the room is completely intact from where it was last year. I mean, it's just there is so much talent that there's going to be guys sitting this year waiting to play for next year. And I agree with you. I think 4 and 24 are probably going to be off to the NFL next year. Would not surprise me at all. And then it's just wide open, to get those snaps.
Yeah, I'm double checking here. Yeah, man. 1, 2. This is Price's fourth year. I forgot because of that.
Yeah.
Because of that injury. That's right.
But he's got another year after this if he wanted to come back.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying this is already his fourth year, which,
Right.
Again, is like clock ticking.
So obviously he'll
louder.
have his degree. He'll be all set. There's really, there's no reason for Jadarian Price to stick around if everything goes as planned this year.
Yeah. TD4ND says it's Payne's last year of eligibility. I don't think so because he was out all of last year. He's got at least 1, if not 2 more years left. Let's see. Sophomore. Yeah, he's got basically he redshirted in 2022, played a season in 2023, and then was out last year due to injury. So he still has
he's junior year of eligibility this year.
Right.
So he's got this year and next year.
He still has another year. Yeah, because now we're back to
the COVID year is
right.
Yeah. COVID years thing is
right,
in his
old rule.
For most people, the COVID year thing is history.
Yes.
There's guys on their 8th or 9th year
lingering out there still,
right,
but for the most part. Yes.
Yeah.
It's all done. All right. We will take a timeout. When we come back, we'll wrap up the first hour. A couple of questions I saw Tommy had in the YouTube chat. Chance to throw some more in there if you want as we wind down hour number 1 and get ready for rapid fire in hour number 2 on Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Winding down our number one of the show with Vince D'Addario, Sean Stiers. Little Notre Dame running back talk today. We've heard some comments from Ja'Jun Seider, Fighting Irish running backs coach. Archer says if Price doesn't like his draft grade, he could come back for one more year and prove he can be an RB1 for a team. I mean, that is an option. But again, this is year 4 for him and a guy who's already had an Achilles tear and he's splitting carries. I just feel like, look at where Kedron Williams is. He just signed the big contract yesterday. $33 million, $23 million guaranteed, 5th round draft pick.
Good
like if you're Jadarian Price and you're going to get drafted someplace, get out there, get your clock started, and just show what you can do. Because pretty much anywhere in the NFL, it's going to be a load split anyway. You're going to be splitting reps with somebody.
That's just football. I mean, you know what I mean? That's just the NFL football right now, and that's the way it is. So you want to get to the NFL with as much tread on the tires as possible, and for Jadarian Price, that would be at the end of this year. Again, barring injury, as long as everything goes well, it's a 1-2 punch. I mean, that's nobody's going to look at Jadarian Price any differently if he comes back and it's a 1-2 punch and he just happens to be the 1A as opposed to the 1B next year.
Yeah.
They're not going to give him any kind of a different draft grade, I don't think.
That's just that many more hits that you have to take. Now, Grant, again, like there is money to be made in college, obviously, these days. But by going to the NFL, you're going to make more money that way. And again, you prove what you can do. And then 3 years down the line, you can be just like Kedron Williams and get that big fat check, and pretty awesome for a 5th round
for him.
Draft
Good
pick.
for him.
I know. Tommy Guns threw a question up in the YouTube chat. A little behind the scenes question. How does a radio network figure out its ratings? And are we the top non-live sport event show on WSBT radio yet? I mean, so the ratings aspect of it, I don't know that we're the top non-live sport event show, but the ratings aspect of it, smaller markets still do like the diaries. Like if you've ever got one of those in the mail and you're asked to, what radio station do you listen? What time do you listen? Who do you listen to? And you literally write the stuff down. The smaller markets are still doing that. And there is a fall ratings book. There's a spring ratings book. And then you get your ratings, the whole market gets their ratings and you see, who comes in what and all the different demographics and all that. There's, different demographic breakdowns and all that. Now, the bigger markets do something called a portable people meter, where they literally will, like if you decide you're going to be one of the people who does the portable people meter, you literally get this electronic device and you push the button when you start listening to whatever radio station, and then you push the button when you tune out, and so it's much more accurate with the portable people meters compared to the diaries and stuff.
I've done the diary before. I've actually done one of those. They send like a crisp like $2 bill in there, or $5 bill or something.
Yep. Yeah. We don't live in a big enough market to do the portable people meters. Not even close to a big enough market for that. All right, we've got more coming up in hour 2 of the show. Rapid Fire is on the way. ESPN put out its list of the 40 most important players in college football. A few different Irish players mentioned in there. We'll touch on them and maybe some who weren't as well. That's coming up rapid fire in the 6 o'clock hour. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. It's hour 2 of the show with Vince D'Addario, Sean Stiers. Vince, are you ready for rapid fire?
If I unmuted myself, I would be absolutely ready for rapid fire.
I was wondering what the delay was all about.
And now I
didn't see
am.
your lips moving either.
I know. No, I was like, I know I'm muted, and so I need to get over there and unmute myself. So, because I've made that mistake with this new setup, Sean. If I don't mute myself during the commercials,
I know.
you don't know what's going out there.
Yep.
And that could potentially be a problem.
We're feeding multiple sources. We're feeding both the YouTube channel and the on-air over the airwaves. So
one of these days, I'm just going to stay on during a commercial and just answer questions or something. just chat with the people.
Might as well.
You know,
Give it a shot.
why not?
I can see it on your face. You're bored over there. You're just waiting for those breaks to end so we can get started again.
You know what I was doing, Sean?
What's that?
I was cutting the afternoon podcast up.
Oh,
I was working.
I thought you were counting the kids you were anticipating expelling this year.
It's a high number. I'm
sure.
have to take off my shoes and socks.
All right, fill in the blank. ESPN released a list of the 40 most important players in college football for 2025. It's blank. They have CJ Carr, number 4, behind Arch Manning, Ty Simpson, and Gunnar Stockton among their quarterbacks for title contenders going into the season.
It's surprising that Notre Dame is getting some love here, but at the same time, I get it. Like, it makes sense because they're not saying that he's better than those guys. Now, we can have that conversation at some point, but they're saying that he is the most important to Notre Dame's success if he is, in fact, the starter at Notre Dame. And obviously putting him in that number 4 slot, they're assuming that he is going to be the starter. But I agree with it. Like, there's a lot riding on CJ Carr if he's the starter as to whether Notre Dame is going to be good enough to be in the college football playoff. And if they are, they're important to college football. So, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. I'm a little I'll just work it this way. It definitely makes sense because Notre Dame just went to the national championship game last year. And, we're going to touch on some rankings and stuff like that coming up here in a little bit. And, like, the biggest question mark they have is quarterback. It's only the most important position on the field for any team. So it makes sense that CJ Carr slots in there. Now, I'm a little surprised that there's maybe not a CJ Carr / Kenny Minchie or, like CJ Carr or Kenny Minchie, whoever ends up winning the job, considering, it is very presumptive that it is going to be CJ Carr. Let's not kid ourselves. A lot of people have worked under that presumption, I think. But there is a battle going on as of today, August 6th, 2025, at 6:09 p.m. We don't have, officially anyone named the starting quarterback. So I am a little surprised that they made that leap with CJ Carr right away, since they don't have a definite starting quarterback just yet.
They don't, and I would venture to guess that the people in the football building are not very happy about that particular situation, that they're not including Kenny Minchie, because they are saying that there is a quarterback competition, which I agree with. And so, it's premature. I'll just say that. It's premature. They should have had a slash there, and it should have just said, the Notre Dame starting quarterback still would have been true. It's still like that slot still would have made sense.
Whoever it is, yeah.
But a slash would have been appropriate, I would say.
Yeah. Arch Manning, I think, makes sense. Gunnar Stockton obviously makes sense. I guess you can make a case for Ty Simpson, but I honestly just think that is largely based on Alabama's reputation as anything. We're assuming a team that lost 4 games last year with a new starting quarterback is now going to move itself into the conversation to be a title contender. I think that is maybe a little premature on Ty Simpson. I mean, if he plays like an All-American, obviously, then yeah.
Sure.
But
look, Alabama has proven that they don't need an elite quarterback to win a national championship. Now, I realize that was in the past, not the distant past, but it's in the past. But they haven't needed a dynamic, I shouldn't say they haven't needed. They have gotten away with not having a dynamic quarterback. So I don't think that it truly rests on that as to whether they're going to be a title contender. We've talked about Notre Dame being a quarterback away from being a title contender for a long time. And so that's why I think that is very appropriate that they're there.
Alabama also has a lot of quarterbacks starting in the NFL right now. When you think about it, you got
wrong.
Bryce Young, you got Jalen Hurts, you got Tua. Like it's pretty good batting average.
3 QBs, yeah.
Yeah. Fill in the blank. It's blank that ESPN also has Irish cornerbacks Leonard Moore, quote unquote, and or Christian Gray at number 28 on their list. There is a slash.
So they're not afraid of the slash.
That's right.
They just didn't use it for the quarterback position.
Didn't use it for the quarterbacks. Yeah.
Which is a little funky, obviously, and I think that it is also accurate because of what this defense means to Notre Dame and what it means to their success moving forward. And, it's kind of a pick your poison, right? People picked on Christian Gray to their demise last year at times. Just ask USC and ask Penn State how that went for them. They got a little bit of success and then that was all taken away. So, I think they are arguably the best corner tandem in the country. So they belong on the list.
I do too. I think everyone is fully behind Leonard Moore after the year he had. And, like when you read the ESPN write-up, they mentioned the fact that, they lose. Notre Dame obviously lost a guy like Benjamin Morrison relatively early in the season, and Leonard Moore performed like he was Benjamin Morrison and then some. Look, there is the narrative that Christian Gray was up and down, hit and miss, whatever you want. Look, he got picked on by a specific opponent with a specific game plan for part of the game. Like, and I'm obviously talking about USC. It's not like Christian Gray was all over the map before that or really after that as well. Now, did he, in that national championship game, did he have, a major play? Yeah, he did. But he also went against the best wide receiver in the nation. And, he ultimately made a play. I'm not putting that on him. There's also a reason that Notre Dame is playing more zone defense and practicing more zone defense this year. And I think that would have been appropriate if they had the chance, to do that in that game. So I think this has got a chance to be the best cornerback duo in the country this season. And they've also got some young dudes who are, I don't want to say maybe necessarily breathing down their neck just yet, but they've got some guys who are coming here pretty quickly. They're all very impressive.
The entire second team is freshmen, if I'm not mistaken, right? At least what we saw when we were there on day one. The entire second team, all 3 corner, quote unquote, positions, the nickel included, were all freshmen, right? So, okay, let's go. A lot of youth in that room, a lot of youth and a lot of talent.
Yep. And interesting thing about this list that ESPN put out, they called it their top 40, list of the 40 most important players, but they also broke down, like these are the most important players, in the, like in the ACC. These are the most important players in the Big 12 and so on. And so they kind of broke it down like that. So like it skews the list, I think, a little bit. Are there any other Irish players who you would say like most important for Notre Dame success this season?
I really thought hard about this one because I'm trying to think of a player that will be the make or break, quote unquote, of them being a title contender, which is the way I look at it to be on this list, right? Because it's importance to college football, not importance to Notre Dame, importance to college football. And I think they nailed it with the 2 position groups that were on there. It's quarterback and corner. I think that's absolutely accurate. I don't know that there's another position that Notre Dame would be truly devastated by if they went down. Like even Jeremiyah Love, who's arguably the best player on the team, if he goes down, and I don't even like saying that out loud, we've just talked about the talent level in that running back room.
Yeah.
They would be probably okay. You know what I mean? Because you've got Jadarian Price, you've got Aneyas Williams, you've got Kedron Young, you've got all of those types of people. So I think they'd be okay. You know what I mean? So I couldn't really come up with a another position and really make a strong argument that they are important to college football.
Well, I would say for Notre Dame's success, I would say Malachi Fields and or Aiden Greathouse, like if we're doing duos, like with the cornerback, like at least one of those two guys is going to have to emerge in a big way. This offense with a first-time starting quarterback for this offense, because you don't have you're not going to have Riley Leonard runs to bail you out like last year. And, you're not going to have that same luxury. Yeah. To some extent you will, because of the great offensive line you've got and because of the great running backs you have, that allows them a little cushion, but they do start off the schedule with the two best teams that they're going to face as well. So like breaking in the new quarterback, you're going to need at least one of those receivers to be a legit go-to guy, I think, ultimately for Notre Dame to be a title contender this season. That's who I would put in there.
Fair enough. I'll take it.
Mark with a super chat in the YouTube. Thank you very much. He says, for some icy hot to help with the stretching.
Man,
that's appreciate. Man,
I'm getting you.
I know we're really on the we've stayed on the stretching theme in this show today. I wanted to throw in one that Tommy Guns put in the YouTube chat earlier, since he thought we were doing mailbag show today. What would you guys say Marcus Freeman is batting as it pertains to hiring people throughout the staff? Now, Vince and I saw this before the show started. And if we're only going coaching staff, like none of these behind the scenes guys, because what do we know about any of those?
There's so many people that work behind the scenes. I couldn't even begin to tell you who they all are.
Keep it coaching staff and maybe, like the GM, that kind of thing, if you want to include that.
I think that's fair, and I would say that so far he's knocking it out of the park. I mean, there have been some questionable hires, I guess, at times. Chancey Stuckey, I think, would qualify under there. But I think that the staff as it is put together right now, I think is an excellent staff. I think the jury's still out on Chris Ash, and that's fair because we don't know what he's capable of doing in the regular season and once the season kicks off and all those kinds of things. But I think, the resume is good. What we're hearing is good. What we're seeing is good, so I would say that as of right now, I've been very impressed with his hires overall, and the current staff is in a really good place.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Marcus Freeman is batting at least 800, I think, with the hires that he has made. I mean, Deala McCullough, Al Golden, Brian Mason, and then, turning that into Marty Biaggi. And, there were some people who weren't sure about Al Washington. I think that has definitely swung in Marcus Freeman and Al Washington's favor. I think you're right. Chancey Stuckey is really the only, big black eye, black spot, whatever you want to.
Yeah, whatever analogy you want to use.
Yeah, exactly. That was obviously, one and done. I think some people probably think that Mike Brown still has, something to prove, or something to show. But at the same time, I think the recruiting chops have started to show, with what they've done in this most recent cycle. Justin says maybe Jared Parker. I think that's fair, but at the same time, they scored a lot of points.
Yeah, that's a big maybe for me, though. I think he got a lot of crap. Undeservedly so. Now, was he a perfect offensive coordinator? I'm not going to say that. But they did score a lot of points when he was calling the plays.
Yeah, scored a lot of points, and he became the head coach. So maybe, it might not have looked perfect all the time. I think it was more because the roster was still in a place where it was, between the recruiting, still trying to get there in some spots, and the fact that you did have to rely on a transfer portal quarterback, and the fact that Hartman, just with where he was, I feel like Sam Hartman probably reached his peak at Wake Forest in that slow mesh offense. And for a guy who had been around for a million years at that point, I think he reached his peak there. And we thought that maybe coming into this offense at Notre Dame, we were going to see another level, but it just kind of stayed flat. And, it was good enough for a successful season, not, ultimately not enough to put them over the top, but you bring in Riley Leonard and they put him over the top after Jared Parker took off. So, I think you're right with Chris Ash, though. Like, there's a very good chance, again, it's only practice and limited that we've been able to see. There's a good chance that maybe this defense is even better than last year's, and that's kind of a scary thought.
It's a very scary thought.
But we still have to see Chris Ash answer the bell
when
it comes to how he's calling things in an actual game, not on a practice field and, partial, practice viewing and all that kind of stuff. We've got to see what it looks like in a real game. There was... Tommy had another question. In or out, Coach Mickens being as elite as he is he the second most important coach in terms of the development of the quarterbacks and receivers?
That's an interesting way to look at it because obviously those guys in the defensive backfield are going to be making the wide receivers work. And anything that the wide receivers get is going to be something that they earned. And we were able to at least see that when we saw some one-on-ones and things like that. It was kind of equal, to be honest with you, when it came to success for the defense, success for the offense. I'm going to have to agree with Tommy on this one. I'm in on it. I think that it's going to be very, very important with the play of the secondary and how they affect the play of the quarterbacks and receivers. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they are they're going up against a very good secondary every day. And I think that, I think it's going to pay some dividends, if maybe there's a little bit more struggles, we had to go right to, well, what's practice for? You need to be able to learn to make mistakes, and, you need to be able to be willing to make mistakes in practice and all that kind of stuff. It's not just a cliche. We've talked about the fact that this is the longest and most athletic looking secondary that I can remember at Notre Dame. You probably have to go back to, Bobby Taylor and before that, 30 plus years, the last time, that you've seen the kind of dudes that they've got in the secondary right now. So yeah, I would probably be in on that as well. I think it's going to be good for both the receivers and the Notre Dame quarterbacks to be under the kind of duress that they are under on a daily basis before they ever get to Miami and Texas A&M and the rest of the schedule. We will take our last timeout and then back to finish off rapid fire with Vince D'Addario, Sean Stiers. Got a few more minutes to go. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com with Vince D'Addario, Sean Stiers. We've been talking a lot, and I mean a lot, of Notre Dame football because that's the topic on this show. That's just the way it goes. We do have some other college football topics, though, Vince. The preseason coaches poll released this week. And that started a little mini maelstrom earlier this week. Who do you think are the most overrated and underrated teams in the poll?
Ooh, man. So I think you asked this question differently than what you had put out there, I think.
Did I?
Well, I mean, I think it wasn't it who do you think is going to fall out or something like that? No.
That's part of it as well.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. That's the next
question.
one.
You might have
You're right.
ahead or yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I did skip ahead. So it's hard with the overrated, underrated because it kind of flows into that part of it, right? Because if they're overrated, I think they're going to fall out, right? So
I mean, we can do it. We can roll it all into one, because the other part of this question is, on average, there are 7 teams that will start in the top 25 that will not be in the top 25 at the end of the season. So that's by definition, the most overrated teams. So, the question there was, who do you think? Yeah. Who do you think fits that bill? So you can answer that one as well.
So I think it's easier to say teams that I think are going to fall out that may or may not be overrated, right? And I think that, look, IU's coming in at 19. I would not be surprised if they were on the outside looking into the top 25. I'm not saying that they're going to be the IU of old. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me if they were out of the top 25.
Right. Hard to duplicate anything near what they had 2 years in a row. Now, at the same time, they have a very manageable schedule, once again, as we've said, as most of these Big Ten teams do, even though they keep wanting to tell us all how difficult the Big Ten schedule is. But is Indiana going to fall back to the mean, or will they even fall back to just being an average Indiana team? Because they have a lot of turnover from last year's team.
I mean, they have a tougher schedule than they did last year. Now, look, they're going to be 3-0 without much of a problem. But then, supposedly Illinois is really good this year, going to be really good. They're going to go to Oregon. They've got to go to Penn State. So there's some battles in there that I think could be very interesting. And if they end up with 4 losses somehow, I think they could be on the outside looking in, depending on what the rest of the Big Ten is doing, right? So that's one of them. And they're starting at 19. So that's not that far to fall out. I think that it's very interesting to me, and I know you're high on this team. Arizona State at 11 to start off with is interesting to me.
I've got them as my underrated.
Yeah,
so you're going overrated.
Yeah, a little bit. I just think the Big 12 is just absolutely up for grabs. And what is that going to be an opportunity for Arizona State to repeat as Big 12 champs? Yeah, it's possible. I'm not ready to start crowning them and giving them the best ranking of every Big 12 team at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 17 returning starters they've got back. And again, the most notable loss that they've got is Scadaboo, but they've got the quarterback back from a team that ended up winning the Big 12 and getting to the play. And when you've got 17 of 21, that's a lot of guys. That's a lot of production coming back. I think you're right. The Big 12 should be fairly wide open, but I think that there's at least a little bit, in my mind, there's more of an underrated for Arizona State than overrated. Because I get, we just talked about Indiana and the chances of duplicating it, doing it 2 years in a row.
Sure.
I think there's a better chance for the Sun Devils because of everything they've got back, while Indiana lost a ton. They lost almost as much, as ASU has coming back. So
Illinois would be another one that I think might be overrated. There's a lot of love for Illinois right now in the Big Ten and what they're going to be able to do. Right now they've got the 4th best Big Ten team right now in the rankings. Is that accurate? We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. But being ranked 12 in the preseason, that's a pretty high ranking for Illinois, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and they've got they've got to live up to that now. There are a lot of
Correct.
expectations, and what Illinois team has had the kind of expectations that this one has. You know,
Sure.
like Indiana didn't have those expectations. They got to fly under the radar until they got to Ohio State last year and you know, ultimately made it into the playoffs. There's a lot more attention on Illinois than Indiana had last year.
My final overrated team, and this should be no shock to anyone who has followed this show in any way, shape, or form, the Irish breakdown side of things. How in the world is Michigan at 14?
I agree.
I mean, oh my goodness. There is some serious projection going on having Michigan at 14. I mean, they're going to start a true freshman at quarterback. They were not good at football last year, regardless of the fact that they beat the national champs. I get that. But for some reason, Ohio State can't beat Michigan. So I don't know why. I don't know what. I'm still picking Ohio State this time around. But that's some serious projection for Michigan to be at 14.
Yeah.
Serious projection.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that at all. I had them on my list as well. I think it's interesting because Feinbaum says Alabama is underrated at number 8. I don't see it. 4 losses last year, 3 to SEC teams, including Vanderbilt. Now you've got a first-time starting quarterback. To me, like there are still some questions for Alabama. So I've got them slightly overrated at number 8.
You know who I think is slightly overrated? And I'm not saying that they're probably not even a top 10 team. I think Georgia at 4 is a little high. And they got 3 first-place votes, which is interesting to me. Look, part of this is because I saw them in person against Notre Dame, and I thought Notre Dame was the better team that day, and they maybe shouldn't have been. You know what I mean? You're down in Georgia's neck of the woods. Georgia shouldn't have lost that game. You know what I mean? Is Gunnar Stockton going to be able to, quote-unquote, quarterback this team to an SEC championship? You know, I mean, they're the second-ranked SEC team behind Texas at number 1. Are they the second best SEC team? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe they are. I just feel like 4 might be a little lofty. Again, I think they're a top 10 team. I don't know if they're a top 4 team.
I am Tenzin says in the YouTube chat, still haven't mentioned OU. I mean, I'm assuming we're talking about Oklahoma. They're not ranked. They're just outside. Yeah, so like talk about them in which way. They're definitely not overrated. Are you saying that they're underrated? Because you know, we've gone through this before. Oklahoma has a brutal end to the season. They might be better than last year, bringing in Mateer, but I don't think their record is going to show it because of the schedule that they have to play. You know, and that does end up kind of being part of this as well. And see if I can find the schedule to remind you here real quickly. It is like the last 5 or 6 weeks of the schedule for Oklahoma. Like if they can navigate that with only 2 or 3 losses, and again, I'm still stalling here as I try to pull it up, and my computer's not up right now. Here we go.
Okay, you got it.
Okay, so this is Oklahoma's now it's doing the jumps on me. 2, 4, 6. Here's their last 7 weeks. Texas, at South Carolina, Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Alabama, Missouri, LSU. Now there are winnable games in there, but if they are 4-3 in that stretch, that'll be a good finish to the season, but that's not gonna keep you ranked at the end of the year. That's not gonna get you anywhere close to the playoff at the end of the year.
Yep.
Because they have Michigan early in the season as well.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say.
We're both doing my pet peeve right now, where we both talk over each other and then then we wait.
I know.
I'm going to say this, and I found out yesterday that there is this guy who works in this building, young guy named Tyler, who I got done with the show, and I found out he was sitting in the other room trying to get tickets for the Kansas-Missouri game at Arrowhead Stadium in September. He's a Missouri guy.
Oh, no.
Anyone who knows me knows my history. I am a Kansas Jayhawk, a KU alum. I'll just say this. I'm not, like Kansas is not ranked going into the season. If Jalen Daniels stays healthy all year, Kansas will be in the running to be in the Big 12 championship game at the end of the season. I'll go out on that limb. If Jalen Daniels, who's been hurt each of the last 2 years, if he is healthy, they'll be in the running to be in the Big 12 championship game at the end of the year.
Okay.
That'll be
I like
the win.
it.
All right. We got less than a minute. Finish this
Okay,
up.
well, I'll be real quick then because I don't need to be all that quick with it. I think Notre Dame is slightly underrated. I think I tooted the horn that Notre Dame was better than Penn State all last year. It never happened in the polls. They finally did it on the field. I still think they're better than Penn State. I also think they're better than Georgia. They should be above those two teams. So there you go.
Just sticking that in right at the end of the show when there's no time to respond to it. We'll have to pick this up on Friday when Vince is back for rapid fire. Happy anniversary to you and your wife, my friend.
You too. You too.
I will talk to you later. That's going to do it. We've got South Bend Cubs baseball coming up next. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We'll be back at 5 o'clock mañana. We will talk to you then.